is howling. Let's get on with the show.
Welcome to Conversation Corner, brought to us by Lucille's Roadhouse Airport Road in Weatherford. From the Capitol, we're talking to State Representative Harold Wright. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Vanessa. How are you all doing this morning?
We're
Pretty
doing great. How are you doing this morning?
Well, I'm up and about, getting ready to start this morning. This is deadline week here at the Capitol for the next couple of weeks, at least for House bills that we're hearing. So we through our committee work, and now we're on the floor of the House passing bills.
I haven't noticed much, and of course, I'm not paying attention 24/7 like you are, and you're there on the floor. But I feel like I haven't noticed much debate. Like there hasn't been a much kind of this and that, and nothing really controversial, if you will.
Well, we had a big debate this week on a bill that was actually authored by the Speaker, Charles McCall, that would require buildings that are owned by the state to have "In God We Trust" on those buildings. And it was interesting because there was a lot of debate against that from the Democrats, who said they didn't think we should do that, put "In God We Trust" on the buildings. So it became a little contentious, and ultimately the bill did pass, though. So buildings in the state will have the U.S. motto "In God We Trust" on them if the bill goes through to the Senate and is passed over there.
Well, we'll take a break, come back, and we'll talk. I want to talk about, of course, lots of things. Clean Air Act, that's one big one. The other one I want to talk about, the one that's really affecting all of us Oklahomans, the one that passed that protects elephants and elephant handlers. That's sorry, I'm just kidding.
Speaking of the Clean Air Act, we have a question from a listener, too. So we'll get
take
that question answered in a moment.
Sounds good.
Conversation Corner is brought to us by Lucille's Roadhouse on the Coyote.
To celebrate this 2020 leap year, every Monday and Thursday in March, Lucille's Roadhouse in Weatherford is having a burger basket deal for two that won't disappoint. Two of Lucille's amazing third-pound burgers and 2 orders of fries for only $10. Lucille's burgers are always cooked to order and never frozen patties. This deal is only offered for dine-in orders with no substitutions allowed. Only $10 for 2 burgers and 2 orders of fries every Monday and Thursday through March at Lucille's Roadhouse in Weatherford.
Moxie Realty is having a birthday. We are turning 3, but what we really want to do is celebrate you. Hi, Amy Robbins here with Moxie Realty. I cannot believe we are already turning 3, and we owe it all to you, our clients. We're going to host a client appreciation party March 5th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at our new location. That's at 214 West Broadway in Elk City. Also, we'd encourage anyone interested in buying or selling to come by and talk to us that day and see what Moxie is all about, because Moxie makes it happen. Follow us on Facebook and find us online at moxierealty.com.
I'm Sean Pryor. I live in Edmond, Oklahoma. I started smoking when I was about 17, and I started dipping tobacco, and that didn't stop for years. My 9-year-old, in so many words, had to tell me, "Dad, you're letting me down." My son said to me, he said, "Daddy said I want you to quit." I can say I couldn't have done this by myself, and having that support from the Oklahoma Tobacco Helpline was instrumental in my success to be able to quit smoking and continue long into the future not smoking.
Call 1-800-QUIT-NOW, a program of TSET.
Hello, this is Rick Spain with Spain's Construction with something to think about. What is wrong with you? Don't turn me off. I have some stuff wrong with me too. It is much easier to see a fault in another, but we tend to live with our own faults. Do you remember how much better your world would be if that person would change? Let's turn that thought around. You have the power to make someone else's life better.
H&C Supply in Weatherford carries the Traeger Wood Pellet Grill. The Traeger packs big hardwood flavor from sweet cherry to savory mesquite into everything you grill, smoke, bake, roast, braise, sear, and barbecue. H&C Supply carries both Traeger and Lumberjack pellets at prices you just can't beat. And while you're in, check out the many accessories and replacement parts to keep your Traeger in fighting shape. And now carrying the Drip Easy, making cleanup that much easier. H&C Supply, located just off I-40 in Weatherford.
Susie Save-A-Lot here. Get fresh spring deals at Save-A-Lot in Weatherford this week. Boneless, skinless chicken breasts for only $1.79 a pound. 3 pounds of mandarin oranges are only $2.49. And you can get pork spare ribs for $1.69 a pound. And mangoes are only 79 cents each.
Convenient shopping, low prices, great service, and they'll even carry out your groceries, all on Washington and Main in the Weatherford Shopping Center.
We're going to save a lot.
Mornings with Van and John.
It's Conversation Corner, brought to us by Lucille's Roadhouse. Our guest this morning and every Thursday while in session is State Representative Harold Wright. And if you have a question, give us a call at 580-772-9700. Also got a message from a listener asking a question and talking about how he had been a smoker of cigars for many, many years and had gotten to the point to where it was just way too much cigar smoking. And so he was able to find a way, an outlet, and that was vaping. And he's worried now because of this. He's not sure which one it is, but he's heard about some vape law that's in the House now that's supposed to ban all flavored juices. And he wanted to know what your opinion was on that, since he's quit smoking his cigars 3 years now because of the flavored juices of the vaping.
You know, my bill does not have anything to do with the outlawing of any kind of flavored juices or any kind of issues really related to vapor places, except that you won't be able to vape out in public places and in office buildings and in bars.
But is there one, though? Isn't there one, something about banning all flavored juices? I've heard something.
There are several bills and efforts trying to put some controls on vaping. As you know, several young people in particular have been damaged. Their lungs have been damaged as a result of vaping. And it's interesting because in some cases, at least, they don't have the controls on the amount of nicotine that goes into vaping, and so it's caused some problems. You know, there's pretty stiff regulations on cigarettes on the amount of nicotine that those cigarettes can have in them, and it's controlled by federal law. But vaping, it doesn't have those same laws. And I know that there's some bills out there right now to help put some controls on vaping. But, so far, I'm not seeing the bill come through on the House floor yet to deal with that.
What is your opinion on it, though? That's what their question is also. How do you feel about banning flavored juices for the vaping?
Well, I don't think I'd be in favor of banning flavored juices. I think, first of all, I do believe, and I've talked to people, vaping is still probably not the best thing for you. There's some things about that they don't even know about as the way of being damaging. But I would not be in favor of banning the different flavored vapes. If you want to go to one of those stores and it helps you get off of smoking cigarettes or cigars, then I think that's an advantage. It's like anything you can do to back off from getting the tar and other attributes that are in cigarettes. But I would just warn people to be careful, because you're better off just not to smoke or vape either one, to be quite honest. And that's the only thing you can do to get off cigarettes, and then it's a good thing. And I've talked to some people that have done that. But there's also a side effect of that, is the vaping is very popular now among young people. And I know that there's a bill out there that would outlaw vaping for anyone under the age of 21. And I think you're going to see that pass through the House and Senate this year.
Okay. Well, along the same lines of that, you were saying that's not your bill, but your bill is the Clean Air Act.
That's what we're calling it, and it's because it's a comprehensive bill to cut down on secondhand smoke in the state of Oklahoma by limiting it to areas. It's not going to keep you from smoking in your car or your home, but it would keep people from smoking in their businesses and in bars. That's the biggest that's the biggest, I guess, part of my bill, is that it will ban smoking in bars. And there's a lot of secondhand smoke for those people who work in bars, and that's my main objective in that bill, is to cut down on the amount of secondhand smoke around the state of Oklahoma. Our health outcomes are at the highest in the country. We're 48th in the country with health outcomes. And if people would, quit smoking as much and walk more, because obesity is another part of that. I heard you talking yesterday about you and your kids out walking. I think that's fantastic, because exercise is important, and obesity is a killer, and so is smoking.
Well, smoking in public places, especially like in the bar, and there's even a song, "She Only Smokes When She Drinks." And I feel like we end up smoking more, like when you're in the bar, some that don't even smoke, they'll smoke because others are smoking, and then everyone smoke, it's like double the secondhand smoke, it seems like. We just keep quadrupling it. You see something someone's doing, and then you're like, well, I think I'll light up another smoke. And I feel like even smokers end up smoking more because they're smoking in these public places like the bar.
And you also have people who work there. I talked to a singer that had throat cancer, and as a result of smoke, and he never smoked himself, but the cancer was attributed to smoke because he had been a singer in bars for years. Another bar owner didn't smoke, but he had serious lung problems because he was breathing that smoke all the time.
Now, this is State Representative Harold Wright we're talking to, 580-772-9700 if you have a question for your state representative.
But I mean, if it's definitely an issue, Harold, I'm just going to be the devil's advocate for a minute. Is there? I mean, the bars currently could make their facility, for example, Hank's Bucket. We've got our $5,000 cash giveaway coming up. Your chance to get registered for that coming up.
We'll be there on the 21st, and they don't have smoking. I love that.
Right. So I'm saying, so the bars could do it on their own. If it's really a health problem to their employees and things, why would they choose not to?
Well, because of competition, and frankly, I've had some bar owners privately tell me they welcome my bill because that way it puts everybody on the same footing in terms of smoke. And so if you're really in a competitive situation, that could make a difference. So I think, like in Oklahoma City or Tulsa, where you have a lot more bars, that some of the bars, at least, maybe not all of them, but some of them are welcoming my bill because it gives them an excuse.
It's not their fault.
And all the other bars also, are in the same boat. So.
And I do want to say, for those that are listening that have said before in the past, they'll say, well, the thing is, that's not going to work. You can't have a bar without smoking. Well, yeah, they do it in the city, but I'm talking about in this small town. Well, guess what? Hank's Bucket doesn't have smoking, and it's packed in there. So. Well,
and I'll tell you, if you go to Europe or other parts of the world, a lot of in Europe, smoking is more popular than it is in the United States. But you go into any kind of a restaurant or a bar, and there's no smoking in Europe. People go outside, smoke outside, but they don't smoke in the bar.
Interesting.
But no clean air, though.
Now, the bill that we've all wanted to talk about, Harold, is the elephants and elephant handlers bill.
What?
Yeah.
I think that sounds kind of funny, but let me tell you, there's a reason for that. Down in southeastern Oklahoma, there's a circus called, the Carson Barnes Circus. And that bill was run by a legislator that's down there, Request. And, so that's not, it sounds kind of funny because we don't have elephants in West Oklahoma, but they do down in the southeast.
But it is. So it was a necessary bill. It was important to get through, I guess is what you're saying.
Well, according to the legislator, and some people question that, and there's an issue of animal cruelty, but he says, and I believe that, there's certain circumstances, I'm sure, that aren't good, but in some cases, but he says that the Carson Barnes people take good care of their animals. And I believe that. I've seen that, actually. And it doesn't mean that they're not, kids don't always parents don't always take care of their kids, even though there are laws against it. So, people may still break the law under certain circumstances. And so you can't get rid of all of that. No matter what you do, people are still going to speed out on highways, right?
As long as you stay under 10 over, you're good. I'm just kidding.
Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, you're maybe good. Hey, give me a state question 807. Now, my generic understanding of it is expanding Medicaid coverage to anyone that is under 133% of the poverty level. What does that even mean? Or what? Maybe you can help me with that.
That's a good question. That's state question 802.
Oh, 802. I'm sorry. 802.
Yeah. It's going to be on the ballot either this summer or this fall. And basically, that's coming from an initiative petition requiring in our Constitution. Now, think about that a minute. We're going to put, if you vote for that, you're going to put this in the Constitution, which I'm not in favor of at all. I think we're going to do it anyway through legislation and through the governor's office. But basically, what that means is that anyone making about under $17,000 a year, they would be able to qualify for Medicaid. We're talking about adults. Right now, adults, unless they're disabled, do not qualify for Medicaid or Sooner Care, just children and pregnant mothers and the disabled. But this bill would actually allow low-income adults, and like I said, 133% of the poverty level, that's about $17,000 or less a year for a family or a person. So those people will qualify for Medicaid assistance if that passes. We are going to do the same thing through the state this year, and the governor's got a plan. The only difference is it won't be in the Constitution. And I think people need to be very careful. Our Constitution, like I said, I think last week, is the longest Constitution in the United States. and it's got a lot of law in it. And as a result of that, it makes it hard sometimes to do your job up here as a legislator. So be very careful about putting something like that in the Constitution. We're going to do it anyway. It's going to happen in Oklahoma.
State Representative Harold Wright on the phone with us. Like we said, if you want to call and ask a question, you don't have to share your name, 580-772-9700.
Speaking of questions, just got one in, Harold. It says daylight savings time coming up this weekend. And as you know, me and Vanessa both hate it. But the question from the listener says, are you still working on to keep the time the same?
Well, I am, and we're trying to work a deal out in the region of the country, because that's really what needs to happen. I think one state just making a change it makes it very difficult, because you go down to Texas, for example, if you don't make the same change as the other states, then it would be a different time in Texas than in Oklahoma and in Kansas and Missouri and Arkansas, unless we get together and make it kind of an agreement. I'd just as soon do away with Central Time and just stay in daylight savings time year round. That's what we're trying to work towards.
And that's what I didn't like about it. That was the only thing I didn't like, is that if you were going to a different state, which doesn't happen all the time, but when you do, you could run into missing your appointments and get-togethers because you forget about that time change.
Arizona does not change, but they're on they are in an area on the edge of the time zone. Oklahoma is right in the middle Central Standard Time, or Central Daylight, whichever you're in. But we're in the Central Time Zone, and as a result of that, we have states the west and the east and north and south that are on the same time zone that we're in. So if you just do it as a state, you really create some problems for, do you want to watch your local news, for example, at 11:30 at night instead of at 10:30? Those are the kind of problems you have to deal with. You go down to the OU Texas game, you want it to be the same time. I don't want the time to be different between Oklahoma and Texas. So those are some issues that we got to deal with. It's not as simple. It's just, frankly, I had a bill out a couple of years ago, and it got shot down pretty quick to try to just stay in daylight savings time year round. And I had that was a request from a lot of people that feel the way you all do.
And a lot of people gave you flack for that, too. They were like, come on, let's talk about more pressing issues. And you were just, doing what people had asked you about. So
speaking of...
I got beat up on that bill pretty bad.
Speaking of things... Go ahead.
Everybody's got their opinion about that. It's something that we all deal with.
Speaking of things, and kind of, we're talking about wasting time and things like that in the legislation. There was a bill that just came past through recently about declaring, I think, Israel as a trade partner that we use all. I mean, what's the point of passing something like that? Or maybe you can explain to me the more.
I think to make a stand, say that we support Israel is the main thing, and that was the intent of that particular bill. And so this legislature in the state of Oklahoma, a lot of other states have done the same thing. And, it's a little bit controversial because some of the other religious groups from the Middle East don't like the idea of us supporting Israel. But they've been a great partner with the United States, and Israel has been a real important part of what's happening in the Middle East, and they have been a very strong ally of the United States in that effort.
Well, there you go. If you have a question, what's the best way to get a hold of you, Harold?
Well, you can call me at the Capitol here. My number is 405-557-7325. You call talk to my assistant, Dee, if I'm not in the office. Or you can send me an email to harold.wright@okhouse.gov. One thing I do want to mention, Don Spencer is he's the director of OK2A, which is the Second Amendment group in Oklahoma, and they've got some bills out. So on Sunday Digest this week at 8 o'clock on the Coyote, I'll be interviewing Don Spencer. It's a very interesting interview about the Second Amendment rights. So if you're interested in that, you want to be sure and tune in on Sunday morning and listen to Sunday Digest.
Sounds good. Thank you very much for talking to us, State Representative Harold Wright.
Y'all have a great day. God bless America and the United States.
You as well. Thank you. Conversation Corner is brought to us by Lucille's Roadhouse on the Coyote.